If there's 100 people that buy a condo, 5 of them want to buy a condo, 95 buy it because they can't afford a single family home.
All right, JG, we are back. We were talking about the market, your mindset, how you grew up, and the real estate market, where it is today. But I want to dive into your business, right? Visture Properties is the name of the company that you own and operate. Tell me a little bit more about that for people who are listening, what you guys do, and then what you're doing right now for yourself and also for your clients.
So Visture Property Group is essentially a vertically integrated real estate company. What that means is, other than buying and selling real estate, we leave that to you professionals, right, Gary? That's why you and I work together so closely.
Yeah.
And financing real estate, we also don't do. We do everything else. So we don't buy, we don't sell. For our clients, they do that with agents like yourself. We don't finance. We work with great partners like Streetwise Mortgages, Dalio Barsoum. We work with Michael Zanzini. We work with other major amazing mortgage brokers. They finance the real estate, and then Visture does everything else. And we make it turnkey for them.
Yep.
We manage real estate, we build real estate, we renovate real estate, we do developments, we do everything. We even do a lot of consultation. We're doing more and more consultation where people bring us in just to do the consultation and make sure people are making the right decisions. And then they they move in their own direction. So Visture Property Group, that's what we do. And the company was born out of our own experience. So Visture started by just being a real estate holding company.
How long has it been around? When did you start?
It's been 15 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we started out by being
you started around the time that I did then. So 2010 was when I started. So you were at 2011 then?
Yeah, 2011. Yeah. 2011 we started ironing out. That's when I got into Rain and Don Campbell, and I started studying real estate. We started the company, and the game plan at the beginning was just to be a real estate holding company. So we were going to be, owners, landlords. We would build real estate. We opted pretty quickly and figured out, instead of the arbitrage at the time, we could buy land at a great price, especially compared to today. And we had a great builder. We didn't do the building back then. We had a builder partner. They would build us purpose-built duplexes. We would then rent them out. We applied the RAIN formula of finding great tenants, treating them like clients, and all that stuff. We did a phenomenal job. And we did that from 2012. We started in 2011. We had our first property done and built by 2012. And we did that up until 2016.
And you were doing them in Peterborough? Is that where you were focusing?
Peterborough, Aurelia, Huntsville, and all secondary and tertiary markets around Toronto.
Okay.
Essentially. And the reason we went to those markets is because that's where the RAIN research was pointing us to. So we couldn't develop our model with Barrie, which is what took us to Aurelia. Right. And then after we did it in Aurelia, we did it in Huntsville. We then expanded to City of Kawartha Lakes or Lindsay. Then we expanded to Peterborough. And we didn't get into Peterborough until 2015. And the reason is because the numbers back then from 2011 to 2015 weren't looking good in Peterborough. Peterborough's economy wasn't growing. The population wasn't growing. It was really, the city was very difficult to work with back then. And so we weren't doubled down doing anything in Peterborough. Then in 2015, we started working in Peterborough. Then the 407, which is a transportation effect. I know I'm taking you back to your old Dawn days. Yeah. The transportation of the 407 kicked in, and we doubled down on Peterborough at that time. And then that's when we got into property management. So first we were a holding company. Then we became a property management company. Today we manage over $100 million of real estate. I'd have to update those numbers. It might be 125 million now, but and then we became builders and renovators and developers after the fact. So we started out as being kind of developers and real estate holders. We grew into property management. We grew into being the builder, and now we've come full circle. Now we do it all for ourselves and for our clients.
Yeah, because I remember when I was looking at Peterborough, and I started looking at it around 2014, 2015, and it just wasn't quite there yet. The
That's
numbers
right.
weren't working. And it wasn't until 2017, that's when I got into it.
Yeah.
And the reason why was because it was more survival. Because then we were having the Toronto agents come out and they were crushing us in Durham. And then we went into Peterborough and we're like, oh yeah, no problem. We'll go 10,000 over asking. Because Toronto, they were coming down, they're beating us like 50, 100K over asking, right?
Yep.
But again, we were always based on, do the numbers work? And you have to run the numbers.
Yep.
And you know, like we've learned in the past as well too, is like if interest rates are 3%, you run them at 5% or 6% or whatever to see, make sure you've got those buffers.
Totally.
And then Peterborough started working and it started making sense. And then the very first thing I did was we went to the city, had a conversation with them, and we knew that they were going to change the bylaw. I'm trying to remember the gentleman's name now, but anyways, and we started doing webinars with them. And once the bylaw changed, boom, those single family homes, all of a sudden now you can do 2 units, and it made such a huge difference.
But look, you know, I'm glad you brought that up because if you remember, that was an Ontario mandate.
Correct.
I think that started in 2010, which is I started doing these 2-unit buildings in 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
And it was, I think Peterborough every municipality had to get on board by 2016. And it was 2017 and Peterborough still wasn't on board, which shows you how behind they were at the time. But then they got on board. And then there's a complete switch of mentality in the Peterborough Planning Department, and they've done so much better. Now, I'm happy to report that they are probably one of the most improved municipalities that we work with, and we work with a ton of them, but they are so much improved, and I'm happy to report that because for a while it was not looking good for Peterborough, but it is now.
Yeah, and back then, 2017, I mean, the price of homes were incredible. You could pick up homes there for under 200,000, like, down on certain streets, in the south end of Peterborough. Okay, so then you started doing that. You got into 2 units. Now, you weren't doing garden suites back then. That wasn't really a thing. So obviously things evolved. Walk us through that. And what stage of the game did you start now saying, hey, look, we can't just only do a 2-unit? What year would that be?
So that was, it was essentially 2022 when the municipality started talking, not the municipality, the province, Ontario, and Doug Ford started talking about, we're going to allow a 3rd unit. Mm-hmm. And it took about a year and a half for them to put it through, and get the laws written and so on and so forth. But when I heard the concept of a garden suite and adding and the way that they were going to do it legally, I thought to myself, I've seen this playbook before. This is what they did with secondary suites.
Okay.
And because so when I started in real estate in 2011, I didn't know anything else, right? So and that's the beauty when you're just starting. And I want really people to hear this because when you're just starting, and they say ignorance is bliss. It really is. It really is. Like when you're just starting and you don't know all the strategies and you don't know all the stuff and you haven't heard the horror stories, like that's a good place to be. And there's a lot of people listening to this podcast that might be in that spot. That's a good place to be. And when I came into the business in 2011 and I started building, this concept of a secondary suite was brand new. And all the experienced real estate investors didn't quite see what I was seeing, but I saw the opportunity. I thought you could take a single family home and add a basement suite or a secondary suite in some way, somehow. And I ran the numbers and I said, this is number one, easy to do. It lowers your risk. It increases your cash flow in a big, big way. And back then, again, you'll remember this, Gary, but a lot of people were just buying houses and just renting the house.
Yeah.
Like single family rentals. Yeah. And I started adding suites to all the properties. I was building these purpose-built rentals with 2 suites in them and so on and so forth. So I saw the playbook and I went through the playbook where at first lenders had a hard time recognizing the suite. They didn't recognize it right away. Then they started recognizing it. Then properties like in about 2017, 2018 is when it flipped, when 2-unit properties became more expensive and more valuable than single family rentals.
Right.
Then the concept of a mortgage helper came about. And this is all leading us towards this lack of affordability. These properties help that. And I saw right away, I thought to myself, the 3rd unit, the garden suite, is just going to be a massive accelerator to this. And you don't have to pay zoning charges. You don't have to pay development charges. All these other taxes that other people have to pay, you don't have to pay those when you follow this game plan. So anyways, long story short, I had been through the playbook. I had done incredibly well on these 2-unit buildings. So I thought to myself, adding a 3rd unit, and I ran the numbers, is only going to make it that much better. So we doubled down on that, and we were ready to build those before the laws were even passed. As soon as the laws were passed, we were the first ones in line. And today,
what year was that approximately? Do you remember when they did it?
Late 2023, early 2024.
Right, for the 3rd unit.
For the 3rd
garden
unit.
Suite in the backyard.
Where it became, now there was some municipalities, like Aurelia, I think was one of them, where they got ahead of the wave. And they said, listen, Doug Ford's going to push this through. So let's get ahead of it. Let's start attracting the capital to our city. So they wrote their own bylaws before the provincial bylaws were written.
Interesting.
And so we started a couple down that road. And then when the provincial bylaws came out, then everyone had to follow suit the same way they had to follow suit with the 2-unit buildings, the accessory suites. So I just saw the writing on the wall and just thought to myself, this is going to be such a powerful strategy. And then when you combine that with our earlier conversation about the shortage of single family homes, when you have an asset that is not being built today, and that is in extreme short supply already, and it's going to be even more in short supply. And it is the number one asset. Single family homes is what people want. People don't want condos. People buy condos because they can't buy single family homes.
Right.
Like, let's be clear. Out of the 100, if there's 100 people that buy a condo, 5 of them want to buy a condo, 95 buy it because they can't afford a single family home in that area. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
So this wave is going to continue, and single family homes are going to be extremely, extremely valuable. And when you add income property to the single family home, it just makes them more valuable.
You're right. Now, the beautiful thing about Peterborough is a lot of those properties out there have huge lots.
Yes.
So because of that, to build these garden suites in the backyard is very feasible, and it makes sense.
Totally.
So kind of walk us through the intricacies of it. And what is a garden suite, and how big does a lot need to be so that you can build a certain size of home in the backyard?
Gosh, how much time do we have here?
We got time.
So, couple things. So, Peterborough is fantastic. There's a lot of markets that are great for it. There's some markets, the more tertiary the market, typically the better it is because the bigger lot size they have. Aurelia is great for it. City of Kawartha Lakes, Lindsay's great for it. Peterborough is phenomenal for it because there's a lot of big lots. You want to find a lot that is at least 7,000 square feet. That's my new general rule. Mm-hmm. And the reason is because most municipalities allow a garden home or a coach home or a granny pod, you can call it whatever you want, an accessory dwelling unit, that's its actual legal definition. They allow that to be 10% the size of the lot. So if you have a 7,000 square foot lot, it means you can build a 700 square foot coach home. And that's a pretty good ADU. That's a good coach home. That's a nice 2-bedroom coach home. It's a good size. When you get less than 700, like I built them at 600, I built them at 660, but I've found that the best is about 737 square feet, 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom. That's where you get maximum rent, but you minimize your construction costs and you don't waste any money.
So 737 square feet.
737 square feet is the magic coach home number.
And how big can you go?
You can go as big as the bylaws will allow you in that particular, and keep in mind, every municipality has its own bylaws. So I'm giving you the generalities here, but you got to go research your own municipality. But you can go as big as you want as long as you meet those bylaws. For example, in Peterborough, you're allowed 10% the size of the lots for gross floor area. So what that means is, say you have a 12,000 square foot lot. It's 100 feet wide by 120 feet deep. Lots of those in Peterborough. Okay, that's 12,000 square feet. You're allowed a 1,200 square foot coach home.
Oh, you can go that big. Okay.
As long as it's not bigger than the primary.
Right. So you can go build a mansion
in the backyard.
in your backyard.
Correct.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Okay. And then what about a basement? Can you put a basement in these things?
Yeah. So we're starting to do that more and more now. You can put a basement, 100%. Again, bylaws and workarounds. In Peterborough, you're only allowed a certain amount of gross floor area. So if you add a basement, you can't finish it under that building permit. because then you exceed the gross floor area that you're allowed in the bylaw. So what we do is we close the permit and then we finish it after.
Okay. Now, the other thing as well, too, is that right now in Peterborough, you can only go up to 3 units.
Correct.
Are they now working potentially on a 4th unit?
Well, they've actually passed the 4th unit. It's called the missing middle.
Okay.
Visture actually consulted on setting this up, and we gave them our thoughts and our opinions and our expert advice and so on and so forth. They came out with their first missing middle bylaw. I think it was about 12 months ago, maybe 8 months ago. Anyways, point is, it was too restrictive. They made mistakes. They made it too restrictive. They wrote in some things in their bylaw, like minimum lot size has to be 10,000 square feet, and so on and so forth.
Yep.
And quite frankly, they messed up. And they met with us and they told us we messed up. We made it too restrictive. So they're actively right now going through a rewrite of that missing middle bylaw, which should come out this summer. And Peterborough, along with many other municipalities, will allow 4 units. But how you combine those units is the devil's in the details. What I mean by that is in Peterborough, you're allowed 4 units on any piece of land. That's what they're writing in their bylaws. But you can't do a 2-unit main house and a 2-unit coach home. It either has to be 4 in all in one big dwelling, or 3 in the one dwelling, 1 in the coach house.
Got it. Okay, so you can do a 2 and 2. So now they're working on making the changes to that bylaw.
No, they're not yet.
Okay.
No, despite Visture's advice and strong recommendations, and maybe I'll send this podcast to them so they see it again. But that's the one thing they're not allowing right now is 2 and 2. But my belief is that eventually they will.
Got it. Okay. And what about other requirements? Because obviously, if somebody's going to live there, they got to be able to park their cars potentially. Yeah. How does that work? What type of parking do you need for now if you're going to go 3 or 4 units?
So parking is a huge deal. It's probably the number one thing that stops projects is parking. All municipalities are in the process of rewriting their parking bylaws right now and their parking guidelines. The reason for that is because parking is changing. The world is changing. You have self-driving cars now. Robo-taxis are going to be here soon. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. They exist in places like Austin and California. They're coming to a neighborhood near you. So they're starting to update their parking requirements, and they're making parking less of a big deal, which is good in my opinion. But right now, as of today, the bylaw says in Peterborough, and many cities are like this, 2 parking for the primary dwelling, and then 1 extra parking for every other dwelling after. So if you have, say, 3, you have a 2-unit plus a coach home, so 3 total units, you need 4 car parking.
Got it. Okay.
And in Peterborough, as well as other municipalities, they're doing parking zones now where the closer you get to downtown, the more flexible that becomes.
Right. So Toronto, for example,
they probably don't even have
any parking.
They probably remove the wall.
Yeah. So obviously every municipality is going to be different. And I believe also too in Peterborough, you can also do tandem. Now, I'm not saying that's recommended,
That's right.
but you can do it.
Yeah. And sometimes what you do on paper and what you do in reality are 2 different things.
Right.
But yes, tandem is recommended. The other thing is tandem is not recommended, but it is possible. The other thing too is it really depends on your municipality. You and I talk about this all the time, Gary, but if you live in Toronto, if you operate in Toronto, if your tenants are from Toronto, they're willing to put up with different things than people who live in Peterborough. Like the idea of playing parking poker or parking pool in a place like Peterborough, when there's typically a lot of different parking, everyone has a car, everyone drives, very different what people will put up with in Peterborough. I'll give you a perfect example. I used to invest a lot in Hamilton. And in Hamilton, there's one of the things we used to do all the time is we would dig out the basement and we would literally dig down the floor in order to meet the minimum height requirements.
Right.
And these apartments were tight.
Are we talking about height requirements about 6 foot for 5 inches?
That's right. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And in Hamilton, there's ways of getting that even lower. And you can, especially where the bulkheads are and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Anyways, the point I'm making is that places that would never rent in Peterborough, where you would not get good rents for it, you would have high turnover, there wouldn't be a good place to rent at all, and you wouldn't have good clients. In Hamilton, these things were flying off the shelf.
Interesting.
So the municipality you operate in, that the kind of clients that are attracted to that municipality will tolerate different things. And that's a good example where parking, not a big deal in Toronto. Very few people drive. Everyone takes the subway. Everyone takes Uber, so on and so forth. Uber doesn't even operate in Peterborough. So there's different requirements.
Talk about, somebody who's listening to this and saying, well, like, man, you got to put a house in the backyard. What does this thing look like? Is it going to be awkward? Is it going to be weird? Is it, but I mean, I've seen them and it's incredible.
So I would, if anyone's thinking that, I would encourage them to come to one of our tours that you and I often do, Gary, because until you see a coach house that's been properly done, that's the other thing. There's a big difference. There's a lot of people right now that are throwing up ADUs in backyards and doing a terrible job, and they look terrible, and they're hard to rent, and they're not getting maximum rent, and it's not a great situation all the time. An ADU out of the gate is a phenomenal concept, but if it's not properly executed, it may not be a phenomenal investment. It has to be well executed, which you and I talk about all the time. So, but the way we do it at Visture, man, these buildings become incredible, cottage style feeling, single family homes. The people who rent them absolutely love them. They rent really fast. They rent for top quality. They fit into the neighborhood. They fit in to the overall space. We've thought about the space planning. We've properly fenced it off so everyone has their own areas. If it's well executed, they work incredibly well. And I've also, by the way, seen non-well executed ones, and they become very difficult, and they end up being a hindrance and being a pain in the butt more than value.
Yeah. The ones that I've seen you and your team do, they look great. You guys will put fences up in the backyard. So both families actually have their own space, their own place where the kids can go outside and play or barbecue or whatever it may be. Right. Yeah. They're well done and they're well executed. I love them. I think they're great. So yeah, if anybody's listening, check out the property tours that we do, right? You'll definitely be able to find it. Now, why don't we, the tail end of this show here, talk about the numbers. So somebody now is listening to this, I'm like, you know what? Let me see what this is all about. I want to get into this real estate investing game, or maybe I want to move into the Peterborough market and maybe start investing out there. I mean, look, it could be Durham as well too. Doesn't matter where we want to do it. But we'll touch on Peterborough because that's in your back there. You understand that market quite well. So what is a kind of a typical price? Keep in mind, I'm a real estate agent as well too. So if I'm going to help that, don't go and tell them you're going to buy a home out there for $250,000, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
So let's run through the numbers.
So in general, right now, the way it's shaken out, the numbers change based on the market conditions, right? But right now, if you you could buy some great properties that have really great bills, definitely need some TLC in the Peterborough area for 515, 520, 525, 550, 570, 575, definitely under 600. You can buy phenomenal homes, great bones, great piece of land, great location, great everything. Definitely the main house typically needs some TLC. So what we do is we budget some TLC on the upper unit. We like properties that haven't been separated already because that's what we do, and we do it really, really well. And we do it better. We think we do it better than everybody else. Okay. So as a result, we like to buy a piece of land, a property that needs lots of TLC for 500, let's say, or 525. In my rule book right now, anything under 525 is a gold mine. So in Peterborough, big piece of land, over 7,000 square feet, $525,000 or less. We go in there, we renovate the upstairs, we split the upper and the lower. We then get a basement apartment downstairs. Within the first 14 days, we rent the upstairs. Then we do the basement suite. Then we get that rented. Then we go on to the coach home.
Okay. So before we get to the coach home, typically, what are we seeing for rent range wise? For upstairs or downstairs? And what, 2-bedroom up, maybe 3?
No, three bedroom up, 2-bedroom down is our usual game plan. And the 3-bedroom upstairs is going to get somewhere between $2,250 and $2,500. Depending on the finishes and depending on the location. And downstairs, the 2-bedroom downstairs will get somewhere between $2,000 and $2,200. Then you move on to the coach home. You typically invest somewhere between $250,000 and $275,000 to build the coach home. That's done. That's turnkey. That's all included. And we typically do that in 88 days or less. The last one we did it in 72 days, I think it was.
That's incredible. That's fast.
It's very fast. Well,
Yeah.
you saw it.
Yeah.
You came one month.
I didn't believe it. We drove home from that first tour
Did
we
you
did.
doubt us?
I go quitting that. I don't know what this JG guy is talking about. And I'm telling you, you got, well, first I think originally it was 90 days.
90 days originally.
Yeah. And then you got it down to
72, I think, is our last one that we did. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's fast. That's
very,
fast.
That's very fast.
Because we were standing on that concrete pad.
Yeah, you were not. It wasn't even concrete. It was just excavated the first week, and then we did a coach home tour. I think it was less than 3 months later, and it was completely built and rented.
Yeah.
Incredible. Okay, so you put about 250 to 275 into that, and then you're into the coach house. It takes us, say, roughly 3 months to get done, and then it gets rented. You rent it. Coach homes are renting right now from 23 to 2,500.
Okay.
So on the 1% rule, which we're all familiar with, you're there on that coach home. But what happens when you add a coach home to the 2 units is the economics change for the whole property, because you've already paid everything else related to the property. The land transfer tax is paid. The lawyer's costs is been paid. All that other stuff, which typically chews up margin in a real estate deal, has already all been paid. So this $2,300, the most of it flows right to the bottom line. So in general, and I'm giving generalities here, but in general, what I've seen is most coach homes generate, when you have 3 full units, top done really well, they generate somewhere between $6,600 and $7,000 a month in rent, all 3 of them. And on a net cash flow basis, you're typically generating somewhere between $1,300, $1,800 per month in net positive cash flow.
Yeah, and that is how you do real estate investing.
Yes.
And for anybody who doesn't know what the 1% rule is, essentially, if you buy a buy for 200,000, you can rent for 2,000. You buy them for 300,000, you can rent for 3,000. That's typically a home run.
It's a home run. If you can hit the home run, you know you got a home run.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so those are the numbers. Oh, and I think we missed it on what would it cost also typically to renovate the main home. So upstairs, downstairs.
That was a bit of a moving target, because it depends on how much work's got to get done. But upstairs we're typically budgeting somewhere between 30 and 50 grand for a refresh.
Yep.
And then downstairs, that depends on whether there's already water there and so on and so forth. But you're somewhere between 120 and 180.
Okay.
So all in, you're about, let's just say all in, you're 150 to 200 grand for the upstairs, for the main house, and then you're 250 for the other parts.
Yeah.
So you're somewhere between 400 and 450 for the whole thing. So if you buy it, say, for 500, I know I'm going fast, but just for those listening, follow me. Say you buy it for 500,000 and you put, say, 400 or 450 into the main, into all of it. So now you're 900 to 950. Let's call it 925. You're 925 into it. These properties appraised for $1.1 million.
Right. That's good. Now, if somebody's listening and they may say, look, man, I don't have 400,000. Where am I getting in some money? And we're getting close to the end here, but I'll kind of wrap it up. Essentially, that there are companies that we work with that can help you finance all of that, and lend the money to you. And when it's all done, and they'll even appraise it right up from the beginning, so that you don't have to worry about carrying your HELOC and put it all into the mortgage, so that now you're cash flowing beautifully.
You got it.
Yeah. So it's an incredible program. So listen, we're getting close to the end here. Maybe some final words and how people can find you.
So I think the best place is go to visture.ca, VISTURE, visture.ca. And I'm on all the social media. Of course, you can follow along. But best thing I would say is come to one of these tours that we do. Come and check it out. Come put your feet on the ground. Come see these properties, and we go through all the numbers at the properties. And then let's see what we can do for you.
Awesome. JG, I appreciate you, and I appreciate doing this with me, and we'll definitely do it again.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Awesome.